Ladies and gentlemen, we are live once again for part 4 of my 32-part series breaking down every single team in the NFL, going through everything I've learned about them in the offseason, going through their rosters, grading the positions, picking out one fantasy target from the team, and of course, at the end, my favorite thing to do every single offseason is go through that schedule, week 1 to week 18, and predict how many games they're going to win, how many games they're going to lose, and do we hit that number, that 10 and a half staring at us throughout this entire video? That is the question we need to answer, because that is what Vegas projects the Buffalo Bills to get, 10 and a half victories. And our duty is to decide whether they're going to get more or less. Are they going to be 11 and 6, 12 and 5, maybe a conference champion, 13 and 4, or are the Patriots going to win that division again? Is Buffalo going to falter? Are they going to be maybe a playoff team at 10-7? Could they be even worse than that with all the changes that they've made? That's the question we're going to answer at the end of this. And I have been having quite the past few hours here in the streaming channels. My good friend Cups Analytics just went live with his boy Kurt Rambis. Shipperlytics was live and in action. And I joined as the third wheel there, sitting in the cuck chair as they spent a lot of the So You Think You Can Tout site credits into underdog drafts. Had an absolute blast with those two boys. Had a few brews, which is normally not what I do on my streaming. You are usually getting completely sober and coherent Tony, and I am definitely still coherent. Don't know about the sober part too much anymore, but that does not stop us. I have all my stats written down. I have my script ready to go. We're going to go through Buffalo, and I'm still going to give you my A-plus action. But if you do want to see all the fun that we had, head over to the Cups Analytics channel and click on that stream. It was an absolute blast. And people are saying after the difficulties that Cups had in his technical world, people are saying the wrong person won, so you think you can tout. I don't know. I am not saying that, but some people might be saying that. As always, we are doing this live, and thank you, Chad Candles, for watching the Cups and Rambus extravaganza. It was an absolute blast. It's late for Chad Candles out there because we are recording this late. Normally, we do these a little bit earlier in Pacific time. Over the weekend, we're going to have a couple of teams. I'm hoping to get through all the C teams: Carolina, Chicago, Cleveland, Cincinnati, for Saturday and Sunday. So look out for those because we got to get through all 32 before we kick off here. And it's starting with the Buffalo Bills. And this is a live show. If you want to leave comments, feel free to do so. And also, we're going to be going through this in a very PTI fashion. First thing we're going to hit is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Three big picture items about the Buffalo Bills that I have a lot to say about that team. And so let's dive right in with the good and the bad and the ugly for the Buffalo Bills. And we're starting off with something that, as training camp moves forward and as we're getting more and more news out of Buffalo, this good is getting even gooder, if that is a word. And it is the acquisition of DJ Moore. I do not think we're going to have the Carolina version of DJ Moore. I don't know about the Chicago version of DJ Moore either. But what DJ can bring to this Buffalo team is something that was sorely, sorely needed, because this team, no matter what they did last year, they were successful on offense. They were top 2 in almost every advanced statistic, whether it was EPA per play, touchdown rate, everything you would want out of an offense. Buffalo did successfully, and they will likely continue to do so as long as Josh Allen is on that team. However, when you look at it deeper, it was extremely difficult for Buffalo to be as successful as they were. James Cook ran for 1 billion yards, had a bunch of touchdowns, can do absolutely everything from the running back position, and yet he was faced with a heavy pause, at the third highest rate in the NFL. The defenses were crowding that line of scrimmage because they were never scared about anyone on this team beating them over the top, mostly because a lot of players were injured, but it's also because the wide receivers there, like the Keon Colemans of the world, did not threaten the team whatsoever. And it made it harder for everyone else to succeed, James Cook included. DJ Moore, I believe, will be exactly what this team needs to set those safety back on their heels a little bit, to set those linebackers worried about what's happening behind them rather than in front of them, because this Khalil Shakir statistic that Warren Sharp brought up in his book blew my mind. We all know Khalil Shakir likes to work underneath. He has a really low A dot. He has everything working underneath the linebackers, right around the defensive line. It's all built for Yak. We know that. However, without a wide receiver over the top, Khalil Shakir saw 90 plus targets last season. And since 2007, There have been 752 wide receivers to see 90 plus targets, 752 of them. And Khalil Shakir's average air yards per target came in at 752nd. That is last for those who aren't good at math. That makes so much everything harder for what Josh Allen is trying to do. When Khalil Shakir has to play that close to the line of scrimmage, when James Cook faces that many people staring at him, waiting for him to get the ball, DJ Moore, the good of this offseason was the ability to stretch everything vertically. It's going to make this offense sing. And that brings me to the bad part, or at least the part that I'm worried about. We don't know if it's bad yet. Keeping that man as the head coach. We let McDermott go. We decided that McDermott was the one holding this team back. They were so close so many times, but they kept on letting the team beat them at the end. We all remember Kansas City ripping the hearts out of Buffalo fans everywhere, and McDermott became the scapegoat of this entire thing. And granted, I thought he did a terrible job as a head coach. It was time for him to go. But for whatever reason, the Baltimore Ravens, who also let their long tenured head coach go, decided to do a worldwide search, and they got the belle of the ball in Jesse Minter. My man Brady over here was already the offensive coordinator in Buffalo, and this whole organization decided instead of changing the world, they just needed to get rid of that one person at the top and bring Brady up, give him a little bit of a promotion, and we're going to be just fine. I'm sure that Josh Allen came in and had a few words to defend his boy Brady because they've worked together and had MVP years because of it. This offense, as I told you earlier, top 2 in almost every advanced statistic, it sings. But if Brady is not ready for the job as a first-year head coach, a team that yearns for that Super Bowl berth and that Super Bowl championship, if he cannot deliver the goods, I think he is under the most pressure out of any first-year head coach to do so. Because this team, the offense has never been the problem. In, since 2002, their opponents, Buffalo Bills, have averaged 33 points in the playoffs against them. And Joe Brady's going to have that offense singing. We know that. But it's the defensive side of the ball that needs to be successful. And I don't know if he's going to be able to advance this team enough to get them past the hurdles that have stopped them before. But this man might. Mr. Leonard himself, the new defensive coordinator in town, the man brought to fix everything that was wrong in Buffalo. And boy, am I mad that it happened, because I've been watching this man for quite a long time. He had a great tenure in Wisconsin in college, and I wanted the Green Bay Packers to be the one to sign him as their defensive coordinator. Instead, we got Jonathan Gannon. It's fine. It's fine. He's just run a bottom 5 offense the past 3 years in Arizona. I'm sure it will be fixed in Green Bay and Jonathan Gannon. No, Leonard instead goes to Buffalo. And that's a fantastic signing by them, but I put them in the ugly position because he is handed a barren cabinet. There is not a lot of goods on this defensive side of the ball. Not only do you not have a strong roster to begin with, but last season, out of the 20 top snap getters on defense, 12 of them walked out the building. Ed Oliver's back, so that doesn't count towards the 20 players because he was injured last year, but that's 60% of the veterans on this team walking elsewhere. So you're starting with a team that has not really drafted too well defensively, and you need all of that to succeed immediately for Leonard to do business because the depth is out the door. They brought in a Brad Chubb, CJ Gardner-Johnson, D. Alfred's going to be starting at cornerback for them. So they did spend some money to bring some high-priced veterans in there. However, this is not the roster that, say, a Baltimore has or even a Green Bay has with Micah Parsons. So Leonard has to do less with more. And last year, this was a bottom 5 run defense. What do I have here? 30th in yards per carry, the running back position, and the worst in the league at allowing yards after contact. One of the worst tackling teams in the NFL. Leonard needs to turn that around almost immediately. And if he doesn't, we're going to look at Leonard, we're going to look at Brady, and we're going to look at the GM who has been there for a long, long time. And this is not an organization that makes snap decisions, but we're going to wonder in this offseason of change, was enough changed to bring Buffalo over the top? Or did we just take the scapegoat out in McDermott and we're running it back essentially with what we've had to make the same mistakes in front of our faces again? I don't know. But those are the question marks that I have before we grade this team here. Happy to have the world coming in to watch how we break down the Buffalo Bills. We just went through the good, the bad, and the ugly of this team. We're now going to be breaking down the roster, starting with the offense. And it's the quarterback room off the top. Josh Allen, of course, one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the world. However, no longer Mitch Trubisky back there. We have Kyle Allen. This is still Josh Allen doesn't miss games. He plays that Week 18 game, takes one snap, and then heads out so we can keep that start streak going. Josh Allen is excellent. This is a yeah, I guess I hate Kyle Allen, so I'll give it an A minus QB room. But God forbid, that's only if Josh Allen ever misses. The running back room, it's the same deal. James Cook rarely misses time, and I do really like Ray Davis back there. Ty Johnson, not so much. I think James Cook is severely underrated when it comes to the running back position. Ray Davis could step in if needed. I'm giving this, a B plus running back room. The wide receiver room, as we said, the pass catchers here have really been fixed with DJ Moore entering the building. Not a lot of depth. Josh Palmer's not the guy you want out there. Shakir is only a yak guy, as we talked about. I'm more in on Kincaid than others, but there's nothing else back there. Mecole Hardman, he played for my Packers last year. He was cut very early. He is nothing when it comes to a wide receiver. Keon Coleman, they're begging for him to do anything to represent the second round pick that they paid on him. This is really DJ Moore or bust. So I'm going with a C minus wide receiver room, even though I think DJ Moore kind of unlocks everything. The offensive line is normally an A plus, but they did just let the best player walk out in free agency, and now he's playing in New Orleans. And this scares me if I'm a Buffalo Bills fan because they're replacing people with some high price veterans, people that they brought in on cheap deals. They did spend a fourth round pick on a left tackle that could convert inside because the tackles aren't going anywhere. They just spent a boatload of money to keep Osiris Torrance around. Connor McGovern is a very good center. However, David Edwards is no longer here, and that is huge for me because when you watch Josh Allen, pull it up. If you have the all 22 tape, pull up Josh Allen doing any type of a tush push. He gets that ball from the center and he runs behind the left guard every single time. That dude is no longer there. And sure, if the tush push is worse, does that make the team worse? No. But could that interior line be worse than years past? And will that affect Josh Allen, who loves to hold on to the football and try to make a play downfield? We saw it happen with Jared Goff last year. That interior O line was so much more leaky than it was in years past, and Jared Goff ended up being the QB who was hit the second most in the NFL. Could Josh Allen face a lot more pressure from the interior because Edwards is gone? Does one man make an offensive line? Just like the question we had with Baltimore yesterday. I still think this is at worst a B plus offensive line. It's old, not great depth, but I still think this is an excellent top tier offensive line. The offense is never the problem. Never the problem in Buffalo. It has always been the defense. And Ed Oliver needs to stay healthy. Obviously, they did draft a couple of players in here on the edge. TJ Parker, they need TJ Sanders to come up, but the D line has never been threatening to me. This is probably Leonard's toughest job, is to figure out how to get this defensive line to be NFL caliber. Because again, as we said, 30th in yards per carry to the running back position and terrible holes that they could not tackle afterwards. This is a D defensive line. The edge pressures, people like Greg Rousseau a lot. I do not. I am out on Bradley Chubb completely. I've been out on him for a while. And this is the same thing they did with Bosa last year, who had a resurgent year, but it's not the edge rushers that I would want on this team. Hopefully, TJ Parker can make an impact here. C minus at best when it comes to the edge rushers. And then the same thing with the linebacker position. Matt Milano no longer here. The linebackers that they have, they're spending money. They're rangy linebackers, but we need to be able to tackle another C minus. The defensive back core, if D. Alfred and CJ Gardner Johnson can live up to the expectations, they also got what's his name? I can't pronounce that. I never could. Igbinosun with the second round pick. If he can make strides and take over from Maxwell Hairston, that would be great because Max was a pretty bad first round pick last year. And who knows, maybe he comes alive his sophomore season. Maybe it was all the training camp injuries for him. But this is a very youthful lineup with two high-priced veterans that they brought in. Cole Bishop, I like a lot. If this defensive backcourt can put things together, it can be really high-flying and fun. However, we have yet to see it. and it could be another couple of Brandon Bean draft picks that just did not fit the bill. So C- on that end too. The defense is struggling. Defense has always struggled in Buffalo, and they're hoping the coach fixes everything. And I look like an idiot in this section of the podcast of the video here. I don't know if I will though. For fantasy targets, I know I'm not going to be an idiot because you could take Josh Allen as the number one overall QB. I'm really high on James Cook this year at the end of the first round because of what DJ Moore can bring to that offense. And again, also, I'm really high on DJ Moore, although he is getting steamed high up in ADP best ball drafts. The guy I'm going to take is something that I never do in my builds. I usually really like taking one of the top five tight ends, and Dalton Kincaid is not one of those top five tight ends. However, I've found now that I'm doing more of these best ball drafts, when I run out of time to get a Tucker Kraft at the very end there, I never really want to take a Sam Laporta or a Harold Fant and a Kyle Pitts. Instead, I'm waiting for Kincaid to fall to me, who's coming off as a tight end 11, ADP around 125 right now. This is a guy that when you look at what Brady did last year, and what Josh Allen has likes to do the past few years. If Kincaid can stay healthy, they were the number one in the league in air yards per target to the tight end position, and number one in the league in EPA per target to the tight end position. So if Kincaid can take off that mantle of always catching some type of unlucky injury along the way, if he can play more of an 80-20 trade-off than he has the 50-50 with Dawson Knox of the past few seasons, I think he's a very great stab as the 11th tight end coming off the board. You have to assume DJ Moore lengthens that field and Dalton Kincaid can then work underneath and be a reliable pass catching target because Buffalo needs him to be for this offense to succeed. So if you miss one of the top five tight ends, I do like taking Dalton Kincaid as one of my late stabs here. However, I would avoid it if I was playing in an eliminator or a guillotine type league because of that week one matchup versus Houston. If you can get past week one and Dalton Kincaid is your tight end one, the next few games are Detroit, which is nice, but then the Chargers in week three. So if you're in some type of an eliminator or a guillotine league, I am avoiding a couple of Buffalo Bills, and Dalton Kincaid's one of them. However, if you're in a best ball draft or a redraft league, Dalton Kincaid is a fantasy target I'm looking at because of how cheaply you can get them. But that's all 17 minutes of preamble. That's all stuff that we're here to just talk about what I'm thinking about from a bird's eye view. What I'm really here to talk about is that 10 and a half number. And it's time to figure out if this team can hit that number as we break through the win totals of the schedule. So we're going to share my screen. I'm going to pop myself over here. We're going to put the right prediction screen on. Boom. Nailed it every single time. Didn't have to spill Coors Light on my on my computer to get this to work out. Purple Yosh out here saying a lot of sharp people like Kincaid this year. That's why they call me Tony Squares, my guy. We ain't coming at it from a sharp angle, but sometimes a blind squirrel finds a nut. This is the Buffalo Bills schedule. As you can see in week 8, Baltimore I already have the W on there because that's from yesterday's video. Baltimore, I had losing that game. Buffalo is coming off of their bye week to play Baltimore. Baltimore just played Cincinnati the week before, who's also coming off their bye week. Baltimore's middle schedule, week 4 through 12, terribly difficult. So that win comes from yesterday's video. And as we go on with these videos, because as you see, Chicago's on here, Denver, we're going through it alphabetically. If I get to a point in the schedule where I change my mind because something pops up and I kind of like the way this is rolling a different way, I will go back and change past videos to make sure those win totals are correct at the end of the year. But however, this W stays, and I'm pretty sure it's going to stay as we keep going. You can see the key. Buffalo actually makes out like a bandit here. They have one of the best rest differentials in the league with all of these like short weeks where they play on a Thursday. They get 3 days extra rest first. LA in week 3. Same thing in week 13 against division rival New England. They're playing on Thanksgiving the week before, extra 3 days rest against New England. 1 and 2 when it comes to Christmas at Denver, at Miami, even though those are on the road and could potentially be trip up games. Buffalo in an important part of the schedule gets that extra rest. And when they don't have rest, they only lose a day each, and it's against two of the easiest people on their schedule at Vegas and at the New York Jets. So we're going to break down step by step how we get there. But so far, looking at it from the outside, really great start for Buffalo. This week 1 game at Houston, it might be my favorite game of week 1. Like, it's going to be ugly as sin, because I don't believe in Houston's offense all too much, but that Houston defense is ferocious. And Joe Brady should have everything should be fine with Buffalo. They didn't miss a step. However, if they start to trip up against Houston and Houston can't score because they can't score against a paper bag, this team could be very, very low. I love the under in this game. And I think it's a tough start for Buffalo. I think my man Joe Brady does not get the win in week one. Instead, we open up the new stadium in week two. New stadium, fireworks are going off. Everybody's happy. No longer wearing hard hats. We don't got to sit in old seats. Fantastic. Can't wait to see what happens on Thursday night against a high flying Detroit team that is ready to run all over them. This is going to be a bloodbath. For how low scoring Houston was, I think this is an extremely high scoring game. And I do think Buffalo wins the home opener. LA Chargers flying to Buffalo, playing on a 10 a.m. clock when it comes, and Buffalo has the 3 days extra rest. I really like LA this year. I really like LA this year, but I think this is another win for Buffalo. And I do not like New England this year. 3 straight home games here, and I think they win them all. Detroit on Thursday, LA Chargers, and then New England. I think 3-1 for the Buffalo Bills to start us off. That upset loss at Houston is in our rear view mirror. We're cooking with gas right now. However, this stretch is tough because right before the bye week, we have to play, I believe, the best team in the NFL in LA. And if any sponsor is watching right now and wants to send me to SoFi for that game, I'll gladly. That wouldn't be too hard for me to handle. At LA Rams on Monday Night Football, and then quick turnaround for Week 6. Buffalo has to fly to LA, play on Monday night, fly back to Buffalo on Tuesday, then fly out to Vegas on a Saturday to play a Sunday game. This is the short week road game they warn you about. Man, I'm going to do something crazy here. I think they juice themselves up for an LA Rams victory on the road, and then they get tripped up because of that short week road turnaround right before the bye. And this is an absolute we weren't paying attention and looking ahead game. I think this is a loss, an upset loss for Buffalo, but we are still 4-2 heading into a very early bye. And then we come out of that bye with the win against Baltimore. So that's 5-2. Minnesota stinks. That's 6-2. Looking good. Looking good. We only got to get a couple more wins here to hit that over. As you can see, the over 10.5 down below. The juice is on the over, -120. People believe that it's going to happen. Pretty much even money to take the under 10.5 to win the division over New England, which I think is an absolute lock. Is -136, and then win AFC. They have the second best odds at +510. And right now, it's looking like an AFC Championship team with a 6-2 record heading into Week 10 after hitting our bye. Same deal, however, with this New York Jets Minnesota situation where they fly to Minnesota and then they have to fly to New York. Shorter flights both end, though, even though it's a short week road game. I'm giving the win against the Jets and against Miami. Man, this is an easy schedule for Buffalo. We're already at 8 wins. KC on Thanksgiving, and then a 3-day rest against New England. I think KC is going to be a hell of a lot better this year. I think Casey's going to be a hell of a lot better this year. I do. I think Casey wins this one. And then at New England, they have 3 days extra rest. Is New England good enough to win this game, or is Buffalo going to sweep the division and rightfully take the mantle back on top of who they are? Man, I think so. I don't think the defense is going to be very good, but I think this offense is going to shine so much that even in this stretch when they have to play New England and Green Bay, teams that can put up points, and Mike Vrabel is one hell of a coach. I hate the fact that I have them sweeping the division, though. I'll give them. I'll have them split. I'll have them split. They're going to beat Green Bay. Chicago playing on a Saturday. Chicago playing on a Saturday. The reason that's green is because Chicago is also playing on a short week road game heading back into this. And this is late in the season where this stuff starts to really creep up on you. Chicago then has to fly to Buffalo to play on that short week for them. So I will give Buffalo another win here. And I think we've locked it in. We have 4 losses with 3 games remaining. Yeah, so I guess we could lose the next 3. That's not going to happen. If anything, I got them winning the next 3. If anything, I got them winning both of these games and potentially losing that one because they're resting their starters. Because right now, this is a 12-4 team heading into that final game. And whether they have the 1 seed wrapped up. I'm pretty certain they'll have the division wrapped up, so they might be resting their starters, but even if I throw a loss on the New York Jets, we still have hammered this over. Just absolutely boat raced this over, and the Jets also are gonna be fighting for that number 1 overall pick. I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you, Mitch. This over looks like a lock to me. That's because it is, my man. This is the highest. So far, the first 3 videos, I have gone, 1 game over the line that's been out there. This is the first time I've skyrocketed over it because Buffalo, this schedule just does not worry me one bit. Even them getting tripped up at Houston, which is a coin flip game. I think they beat Detroit, LA Chargers, those first 2 home games. That 3-game stretch is really tough, very good teams, but I think Buffalo is going to be juiced, especially at the beginning of this season. I have them losing an upset game to the Raiders, and I still have this team clearing that over. Yeah, yeah, I'm doing it. We'll see when I cover the LA Rams, when I cover the Chargers, do I switch my mind on some of these Buffalo games? But even if I do, Buffalo is kicking out at 13-4. 13-4 is unbelievable. That's the highest I've gone with anybody so far. And that's it for the Buffalo Bills. You're 13-4, potentially AFC Championship Buffalo Bills. That's a 1 seed. That's a 1 seed if you really want it. And you could take that too because that's a pretty high price bet. Baltimore is considered to be the favorite in the AFC. Buffalo at number 2. I guarantee you can get plus money to get Buffalo as the 1 seed there. And with that schedule, it looks like it can happen. Now again, we went over it. There's a chance the defense really screws it up, and there's a chance they cannot figure it out with the people that have walked out the building. They cannot cover anybody. They cannot stop the run. But I don't think anyone is stopping this offense because of the DJ Moore addition. And that's crazy to think about, but just what he can do for that team and what it opens up for everyone else. I hate that my Lions have to play them in the opener of the new stadium. I would too. I'm very happy about it because, hold on, wait for it. This is important. Go Pack Go. I'm very happy your Lions have to open that new stadium up. You deserve some bad schedule luck after the past few seasons. I'm excited for the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo fans should be excited for the Buffalo Bills. But as we know, it really doesn't matter because Buffalo fans need January wins more than they need wins in October and November. This is a team that wants to not only make the playoffs, but win the whole goddamn thing. And if Joe Brady can't bring them there, then why'd we fire Sean McDermott in the first place? Those questions I can't answer for you. However, that 10.5 number, where is it? We've cruised over that number. And this is the 3rd straight over I've given out in 4 videos. Tomorrow morning, the Carolina Panthers. Probably around like noon Eastern, 9 a.m. on my time. That's probably when I'm going live with the Carolina Panthers. Is that going to be a 4th straight over for a team that won a division last year? Oh, God, I don't know. Either way, we shall see you then. And, thank you for watching. This has been a fun. This